Meow.
Hey, meow. I don't know if this is coming in, but Adam told me to just go live, so I'm going live. How's everyone doing today?
Why do you keep asking how everyone's? They never respond.
They respond in the chat.
Oh, they
This
do?
is how you
Okay.
build a parasocial relationship. Okay?
Oh, okay.
You say, "How you doing?" And then you look in the chat, and they tell you, "I'm doing wonderful, Sitch. How are you?" And I say, "Thank you. I'm also doing good."
Oh, okay, cool. Well, it's a 20-second delay, and we should get into the show. What are we talking about today?
Did the hey meow get caught? Get caught? Chat.
Of course,
hey meow. Anyways, so there's some very hilarious things going on today. Did you know that Hasan and TYT seem to be having some rocky relationships going on here?
Wow.
So let's watch a clip first. Our queen Anna seemed to have some some choice words for Hasan Piker.
Yeah. What? Let me get my shit together.
You don't even have it up.
I mean,
wow,
let's go.
Anxiety.
Let's watch it immediately.
Okay. Pressing the button.
Well, most Nepo babies like to deny that they've been given incredible opportunities in life without necessarily earning it because of nepotism. One actress named Maya Hawke just gave all those other stars a masterclass in how to respond to the Nepo baby allegations. Now, if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, seasons 3 and 4 of Stranger Things, or Do Revenge, you're familiar with Maya Hawke, and she says, yeah, I'm a Nepo baby and I accept it. So she was recently asked in an interview whether or not she thinks she deserves the success that she has attained as an actress. And by the way, her parents are Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, obviously celebrities. Okay, so that's where the nepotism comes in. But here's what Hawke had to say about nepotism giving her an upper hand in her acting career. There are so many people who deserve to have this kind of life who don't, but I think I'm comfortable with not deserving it and doing it anyway. And I know that my not doing it wouldn't help anyone.
I totally agree, not just with the first half, which is the main reason we're doing the story, but with the last sentence too. Like, okay, if I just didn't become an actress, how does that help anyone? Yeah, does she have to do basket weaving? No, you can be an actress. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I do have a specific example that kind of counters what she said there, even though I agree with what she's saying, right?
And I have a specific example of someone that worked here that has said something very similar to her.
Oh, interesting. Okay, It can't be your nephew because he has no self-awareness. But anyway, let me.
Oh no! Oh.
So that must be Hasan, right? Hasan Piker, zero self-awareness. Look at that.
Anna does not pull any punches. She just throws it out there. Oh my God.
She just pulls a hatchet right out and just whoosh, 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 whoosh. There you go, Hasan, right in the forehead.
And it's funny. So like the way that this all kind of played out, it sounded like she didn't expect Jank to sort of say that, like, oh, I have an example. So she wasn't planning to throw Hasan under the bus. He wasn't planning to drop the mother of all bombs on top of his son's head on the show.
Spontaneity, I love it. What am I always saying about comedy? Surprise, bitch!
Oh my God, it's so good. And look at Jank's face. He's like,
Look, I captured. Like he turns back to the camera. I captured his reaction shot. He's like, you can tell. He's like, oh, damn. I'm gonna get a phone call later about this one.
Let me see if I can capture it.
Continue with the rest.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
He's like, well, it's oh my God, so good. So good on you, Anna. Good on you. This is why you're a gem. Okay.
Exactly.
So, but here's interesting. So actually, I don't know if it was after this or before this or the same day. Hasan took a big hit, not at Anna, but at Jank. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Right? So if Anna comes out, maybe, and I wonder actually, maybe Anna came out with this comment in response. I should actually check that out. Let's see who said the comment first, right?
Was it?
Not-
You think Hasan was a hatchet man and Anna was just responding?
It's possible. I don't know who. Let's see who drew first blood.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the question. Gotta see what kind of outfits these people are wearing on stream.
Rest of
Okay, so this video, this TYT video, came out a day ago. All right, this came out. We're doing some detective work here. This came out a day ago, so on June 4th, right? So it's on June 4th, or maybe they filmed it June 3rd, uploaded June 4th, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's the Hasan video. Well, I think maybe this was in response, because this Hasan video, we're actually watching the Vanguard boys respond or react to the clip.
Yeah, she spent
and this was 2 days ago. So this was before the Young Turks video. It's on June 2nd. So that means that maybe Anna was maybe she said this in response to
Wow.
Hasan's
Wow.
attack. Okay.
So it was completely justified self-defense here.
Maybe. Yeah, look, Anna's sticking up for Jenk here, right?
Yeah,
She's
look
like,
at
what?
that.
He's my friend, my co-host. And your nephew, he's a Nepo baby.
Yeah.
He's a jerk. Okay. So let's see what Hasan's problem is with
So
Jenk
we couldn't find this clip, so shout out to the Vanguard boys. We're taking it out of their video. Yeah.
Well, so this clip was on Twitter, and they're
Mhm.
reacting to it, and apparently this Twitter person has blocked both me and Adam, even though we've never interacted with them. So
Right, yeah. So we
Okay.
couldn't find the tweet.
no. So here we go.
every day for the past 8 months hand-wringing about progressives in the left. She lost their cushy job over at like progressive.
Okay, so Hasan is complaining about Brianna
Wu, yeah.
Yeah. So there's been all this drama with Brianna Wu, who not only has she been very, very mad at the leftists and the progressive movement for, the perception and not perception, but reality of a lot of anti-Semitism towards Jews and sort of like the crazy and weird rhetoric that's anti-Israel. But there was an article recently in the Washington Post that claimed that someone who works at the Gray Zone, a managing editor of the Gray Zone, is actually getting paid by Iran.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the tweet only said that they got a couple $1,000. So,
Right.
I mean, they're not
That's fair.
exactly. It's not
fair.
like they're pulling down 6 figures from Iran.
Sure.
That
So-
would be a story.
Well, I mean, it's still a story, right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
You have some like America Bad leftist publication that, you've heard these names: Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate. They're, the big old, America does everything bad. America cooed Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly it's like, oh, look, someone on their staff, got paid by Iran. I mean,
Right,
it's
yeah.
kind of
But
interesting, right?
It's obviously Iran hates America too. They're like, look, the Gray Zone hates
Right.
America. Let me buy you a cup of coffee, bro.
Right. It says hacked emails and other documents from the Iranian government-funded press TV show. From the Iranian government-funded press TV show, payments of thousands of dollars to Wyatt Reed, a writer who is now a Washington-based editor for the online publication Gray Zone.
Right.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so it sounds like he was paid before he was at the Gray Zone. So,
Right. He might have written some articles for
Right.
Iran Today.
There you go. In
Who
addition,
knows?
the site's founder, Max Blumenthal, regularly appears on Russian television and once accepted a trip to Moscow for a celebration of Russian state-controlled video network RT that featured Vladimir Putin. So these are, the good America Bad lefties that you listen to. You got Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate and Wyatt Reed, right?
Yeah. Look, Putin
Great.
loves a useful idiot, right?
Yeah, right. Very, very useful. So, Brianna Wu's, been drawing attention to them on Twitter for doing this, and it's actually kind of crazy. One of the people that works at the Gray Zone, who's again, these are America Bad lefties, has attacked Brianna Wu for being
Yes.
trans. Isn't that
Well,
crazy?
and accusing her of impersonating a Asian person.
Yeah, it's super weird. So Max Blumenthal and some of these other guys they're like accusing her because her last name is Wu, because that's her husband's last name, which, you know, in America, it's not an uncommon tradition that women adopt the last name of their husbands. They're saying that she did that intentionally to gain oppression points or something, or minority points.
I thought Asians were above white people in the hierarchy of earners. So it's a weird, it's like super weird.
Yeah, it's like well, it's one of those, you know, sometimes they're minorities, sometimes they're not minorities, you know, who
Right.
knows, right?
Of course.
So this woman that works at the Gray Zone tweeted out, "We need a federal investigation. The fact that you're not Asian and might not even be a woman." So it's kind of
Right.
crazy to see someone who's like supposed to be a lefty or leftist, you know, attacking someone they don't like, attacking a trans woman in kind of a very transphobic way. So very gross. Anna Parmipil was her name. So I guess Hasan decides to weigh in on this, right? And, you know, obviously he's not going to say like, oh, you know, it was gross that this person like attacking Brianna Wu or anything. No, of course he's going to attack Brianna Wu.
Yeah, she spent every day for the past 8 months hand-wringing about progressives in the left. She lost their cushy job over at like Progressive Victory. She made me lose respect for anyone that has ever worked with her that I had an ounce of respect for, by the way, because like they are so goddamn blind sometimes. I will not be naming any names, but maybe familial relations.
Whoa. Okay.
So if they don't know, Brianna Wu used to work, or I guess, does she still do it?
I think she still works there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she runs Rebellion Pack for TYT for Jank.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And so he just said he lost any respect for anyone that works with her, including someone with familiar relations. Wow.
Familia relationships. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Like Uncle Jank.
Like Uncle. Yeah. So like how fucking weird and gross. It's so funny too, because like obviously Jank, very pro-Palestinian. You know, we've seen him on these videos kind of go off into these like very emotional, you know, rage rants against Israel and in defending, you know, the Palestinian people. And yet, just because he works with Brianna Wu, Hasan is like, no, I've lost all respect for you, my uncle, who helped propel my career forward.
Yeah, it's super weird because like you look at Rebellion Pack, and Rebellion Pack is a clean pack fighting for progressive working class values across the country. So he's even throwing the progressive super PAC under the bus as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Disgusting. So there you go. I mean, further proof that Hasan is massively audience captured. Will do anything to satisfy his own audience. Say, please don't attack me. Please don't attack me. I'll throw my own uncle under the bus, not because of anything he says, but just because he might be friends with someone who my chat doesn't like.
Right. Yeah. What a ding dong.
What a jerk. What a jerk. And also hilarious. Okay. So that's fun.
So this clip of Anna is in response to this, like backing up Jank.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know if it was directly, but it happened after it. So, you know, it's possible she saw that clip and was like,
Yeah, seems like that might have happened. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So Jank should be smiling. But Jank instead is like, oh my God, these two. Like, I'm going to have to put you in separate corners. All right.
Okay.
Very fun stuff.
Fun. Let's move on to our good friend. It's been a while, right? Since we checked in. Actually, it hasn't been a while.
What are you talking about? We did a whole we spent 10 hours with her on Sunday.
Well, no, it's been a while since we checked in on our good friend Brianna Greyjoy on the Hill.
Right. But we knew this was coming. Look, we predicted this on the Sunday show. We were like, okay, what happens when someone gets beat up at work all day? Well, they go home and they take it out on their husband. Right?
That's right.
That's exactly what happens.
All right.
Had a rough day at work.
You sent me this clip and you're like, kick the dog.
Yeah, exactly. Poor Robbie.
I know, poor Robbie, right? Why does Robbie does not deserve this abuse? Robbie, okay, blink twice. Blink twice if you need help here. You know, I was curious as to when we were going to see like the first Brown talking about both the debate and the Twitter drama about the debate. if she would save it for her podcast, where I'm still expecting a long rant eventually, or if you'd go on the Hill, and I guess she's gonna talk about it on the Hill a little bit by calling Bill Maher and her debate, the people she's debating against, big old racists.
Right.
But before that, Christian Baller for $2 says Anna is my waifu. There you go. Look at that.
Nice.
Thanks, Anna.
Is this her radar? Is this
this is her
video?
radar.
Okay, perfect.
This
so the
is her
radar
radar.
in the Rising universe, the radar is where they get to select something that they're keeping an eye on, as in
Right.
it's on my radar. I'm watching this closely. So she could talk about anything at all in the political space. She's like, I'm gonna bring in my debate. Right?
Of course.
It's kind of funny.
It is funny. She's like, I need to tell everyone about what happened.
Exactly.
Sell it for $2 says she should leave TYT and host the Hill with Sean. That'd be fun. Christian Baller for $5 says, Sitch, we need the soundboard back. This is the perfect time for the MLG air horn sound effect. Do we need the soundboard back, Adam?
We are not.
I
We're
have mixed feelings about the soundboard.
I do not have mixed feelings about the soundboard. I think it harkens back to like the 1980s, if not the 1970s.
It's the like, well, I don't think it's like the 1990s radio show,
Yeah.
But sometimes, listen, you got to bring back the Titus laugh, okay? You got to bring back the Paul Blart Mall Lawyer.
Well, that's good.
That was a good one.
But that's not really a soundboard type segment.
That's true. It was a little voice. Noel Johns Kitty for 10 months, thanks so much, says, I think Hollywood and the media have reached the Hadsburg era of their age. Their nepotism has led to their inability to write, entertain, and do their job. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, some of it definitely seems like nepotism. Some of it just seems like everything has to be so. Like everything has to be a remake, and then in the remake you have to shove in, some kind of DEI requirement, right?
Yeah, I mean, this typically happens throughout history with art, where some ideology comes along and all art must serve that ideology. I mean, this was like the early Christian period in art. That's why all the art is like Christian art, right? The same thing is happening with, it's just a different ideology. It's this feminist, progressive, standing up for marginal people ideology, and all of the art must serve that ideology. We are no longer judging on aesthetics or entertainment value. We're judging on how well does this promote the values of progressivism, and that's a problem. It makes art totally boring.
True. Sketch for $5 says, who would win several foreign governments who back leftist propaganda, or one J-Mac, the executive producer? Well, obviously J-Mac would annihilate those fools.
Definitely.
Genie Penguin for $5 says, when Hasan grows a mustache, it always makes me suspect that Chris Hansen is about to slide into frame. Tragic reality of the mole stash. Yeah, it's so hilarious that among like leftist men, they're like, hey, you know what the aesthetic is right now? To look like a PDF file. That's the aesthetic, right? It's like, what? You want to go for the dirty hobo child molester look? Like, all right. I mean, you're kind of a little on the nose, Hasan, and Noah Sampson and all those other people. But I guess go for it. It's so gross. Okay. So let's see what Brianna. What are you laughing about?
Okay.
So let's see what Brianna has to say here.
Well, Robbie, Bill Maher's caught some flack for a new segment in which he makes the case for Israeli superiority. Let's
if you're just listening on the screen on the side, Chiron, it says Bill Maher on Palestinians, pedophiles.
Yeah. Calling them out.
I love it.
take a listen.
Because values and customs make a difference, okay? And the people of Gaza, by the way, if the Israelis did get rid of Hamas, they'd be doing a giant favor to the people of Gaza who hate Hamas too. But let's just go through the lists. Because the Israelis look like us in most ways, values-wise. Maybe we're not doing it the right way. I don't know. Religious tolerance. That doesn't exist in Gaza. You're either Muslim or an infidel, and you better be a Muslim. female freedom, free and fair elections, free speech, gay rights. Can I just finish my list? Pedophilia, I'll put that under don't ask. Child brides and so forth. Equality of the sexes, I'll categorize that under don't make me fucking laugh. The fact that, you know, these people think that this is where they should be aligned with, that these are the values that you support?
Now, if someone complained that Jews didn't share our values and customs, that they didn't look like us, that, say, calling themselves chosen people was evidence of religious intolerance, if someone accused Jews broadly of pedophilia or sexual deviance, citing Weinstein, Epstein, and let's say Seinfeld, and argued that as a result they didn't want to live in a country with Jews, I doubt we would struggle to identify those remarks for what they are: bigotry, anti-Semitism.
So, first of all, never in my life have I ever heard a Jewish person who wasn't making a joke honestly say, like, we are the chosen people and we're better than the Goyim. I've never heard anyone say anything remotely like that. Okay, my entire life. So I don't know why she brought that up. It's so weird. It's so weird. And then,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's very strange. I've literally never even heard that. I've never even, for all the times I went to temple, that I never even knew that that was like even a thing until I started doing these internet videos, and I'd see like the anti-Jew people bring it up, like the Jew haters bring it up, and I was like, really? That's even a thing? And I'm like, oh, you know, there's some like weird thing if you like dig deep into it. This concept of the chosen people. I was like, okay, I never even heard this before. But, and then it's funny too, because she's like, well, it would be bigoted if you said, oh, you know, Weinstein is like a, you know, a rapist, so all Jews are rapists. So, and she's right, that would be bigoted, sure. But the concept that Bill is saying, right, is he's claiming, now maybe he's wrong, and if he's wrong, you could just call him out for it. He's claiming that under Hamas, which is the government organization of Gaza, that they allow legally specific behaviors. And those behaviors are, you know, getting rid of gay people and child brides. That's what he's claiming. He's saying that the government does it. Not that an individual who happens to be Palestinian does it. He's saying that the government is in favor of this behavior of getting rid of gay people with violence and of child brides. So, Brianna, you saying, well, there was a guy who happens to be Jewish who, you know, sexually assaulted someone. That has nothing to do with it. If you were saying like, well, Israel allows child brides or Israel throws gay people off rooftops or something, then you could have a comparison, Brianna. Then you could have it. But what you're doing right now, it's bullshit. Totally bullshit.
I looked up the age of consent, and in the West Bank, it's 15 for girls, 16 for boys for marriage, not for fooling around. Obviously, these are Muslims. In Gaza, it's 17 for girls and 18 for boys, which I mean, that's pretty close to ours for marriage. Right. So maybe Bill's wrong.
Well, you might, that's what I'm saying. If he's wrong, why doesn't Brianna just call him out for it and say, well, he's just making this up?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be, I don't know, the truth seeker thing to do.
Right.
Obviously, she's like, you're a bigot. Look, and if he's wrong, yeah. I mean, it is a nasty thing to say. So,
I mean, remember UNRWA, that organization that, you know, had like weird ties to, you know, maybe helping supply Hamas.
Right.
Even UNRWA, on their page from the United Nations says, girls, not brides, ending child marriage in Gaza.
Yeah, look, that might be
complaining about it.
That might be the law, but the culture might break the law all the time, and nobody looks in on it. Who knows?
No, right. But what I'm saying is, even UNRWA is saying that they need to stop it.
Right. Yeah.
That they need to stop the child bride things. So.
Commitment to Islamophobia is nothing new, nor is it subtle. He has argued that Syrian refugees should be rejected because, quote, their cultures are not like ours, an argument eerily reminiscent of a justification used to deny Jews asylum as they faced persecution by Nazi Germany. He's argued that Islam, the religion that shares more with Judaism than any other religion, is, quote, the motherlode of bad ideas.
It's such a weird framing. Islam shares more with Judaism than any other religion? Does anyone like look at the religion of Islam and look at Judaism, or rather like look at, you know, the various cultures that exist currently and think that like, oh, these things share a lot of similarities? Because I don't see that. I don't think most people see that.
They share a backstory, but that backstory leads to them being in conflict because supposedly the entire Muslim population are descendants of Abraham too, but through the slave wife. So
Right.
they're basically laying claim to no, we are the chosen people. So I mean, sure, they share a storyline, but
So I
as
mean, so does
mortal
Christianity.
enemies,
Right.
yeah.
But so does
Well,
Christianity. All the Abrahamic religions share the same backstory, obviously. But
the disagreement between Christians and Jewish people, I don't think is as caustic as the one between Muslims and Jews, though.
well, it used to be, right? Not anymore.
Oh, yeah. Look, they used to say the Jews killed Jesus
You
Christ.
killed
so-
Jesus.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
but it's chilled out. Who knows? Maybe it'll chill out between Islam and the Jewish people. Who knows?
Mhm. And it's interesting too, because like the title of the video is "Israelis Look Like Us." Bill Maher wields identity politics to defend Israel. So obviously, the framing of it is she's trying to throw a racism, right?
Oh yeah, big
They
time.
look like us. They look like us. Even though Bill Maher didn't say they look like us visually, he specifically said they look like us, comma, value wise. Right. So he's saying that they have a culture that is closer aligned to American culture, obviously, than, you know, what's going on in Gaza.
Yeah, tolerance is what he's talking about.
Right.
Described Muslims collectively as threatening and joked that Muslims, who comprise 25% of all human beings on earth, that they belong to a, quote, culture in its medieval era. He accused Muslims of, quote, bringing that desert stuff to our world and referred to Muslims.
Was he talking about Muslims or was he talking about Hamas, though?
I don't
This
know,
is
because
kind-
she didn't.
I mean, this is kind of a big error to make. Like, if he's talking specifically about Hamas, to say that he's talking about all of Muslims is, I mean, that's kind of super bad faith.
Muslims as uncivilized. When challenged as to whether Islam is a religion of peace, Maher once quipped, yeah, they blow you up. There's a piece of you over there. There's a piece of you over there. There's a piece of you over there. There's something deeply ironic about Maher.
I mean, that joke kind of hits. I mean, that's a good joke. Terrible delivery, though, on her part, but
So
the religion of pieces.
I'm kind of like wondering where she's drawing some of these quotes from, because I'm
Oh, I
looking
know.
them up. I'm
It's
trying
like
to look them up.
20 years.
Right. And it seems kind of nonsensical. Because first of all, when I type in Bill Maher medieval bullshit, first of all, the first clip I find is him actually comparing America and the Republicans, referring to like Trump.
Oh, no.
So that already kind of destroys, you know, Bill Maher's big racist. Okay. But then I guess I found what she's referring to here. It's this is when Obama, so this is from 2015. This is when Obama went to visit Saudi Arabia, and Bill Maher said, quote, "Stop respecting their medieval bullshit. I thought that Michelle Obama was kind of making a statement that I've been trying to get across for a long time, which is stop respecting the medieval bullshit under the guise of, quote, it's their culture. Cultural relativism is nonsense. It's the 21st century. You won't shake hands with a woman. You're the ones who should be embarrassed. And if that's judgmental, good. I'm judging. Yes, I'm judging. That's fucked up. And you're the bigot. I'm not the bigot." So to be clear, Brianna Greyjoy is criticizing Bill Maher for criticizing the Saudi Arabians because they won't shake a woman's hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting, Brianna? Isn't that interesting? It's so weird how she'll just do anything she can to throw the racism stick at someone who has a different opinion on her around Israel, that even if it's something that she should agree with. I'm assuming Brianna agrees that the Saudi Arabians are wrong to not shake a woman's hand and give them equal rights.
No, she doesn't agree with that.
Oh,
She
okay.
thinks, look, that's their culture. We have to respect their culture. They want to beat their wives. You know, we got to respect that. That's the culture of woman beaters.
Uh-huh.
That's where cultural relativism leads. That's why, yeah, look, I hate this stuff. But look, I do think she'd be simping for that stuff. Who are we to tell them that they can't beat their wives, Sitch?
Mars claims, especially made just about a week after we all watched a Palestinian man hold a baby.
Brianna Greyjoy, pro-wife beating.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't understand why. If the bad faith gloves are off, just what the fuck?
Aloft with a crucial piece missing. It had been decapitated in an Israeli airstrike. For 7 months, we've watched Israel murder well over 35,000 Gazans, 75% of whom were women and children. Yet we've been told that Palestinians are inherently violent, barbaric, and savage. Just last week, Obama complimented Biden's ceasefire speech using language that eerily reflected this double standard. A ceasefire alone, he wrote, won't ease the terrible pain of Israelis whose loved ones were butchered or abducted by Hamas, or the Palestinians whose families have been shattered by the subsequent war. Israelis are butchered by Hamas, in Obama's words. Palestinians are abstractly shattered by war, not by Israel, with American bombs and American diplomatic cover. Bill Maher lauds Israel for religious tolerance, saying that it doesn't exist.
So I found the clip. I was trying to find the desert stuff quote. Where does that come from? Okay. Bill Maher said desert stuff. So this is from 2010. It's an interview with Anderson Cooper.
We're at 4 minutes. Throw it in the watch together.
Okay. Let's see.
I'll make a
4
note.
minutes.
Anderson Cooper, AC 360, CNN weeknights 10 Eastern.
Why is Islam the one religion about which so many in America and the West censor themselves when it comes to talking about or making fun of? Is it just fear?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because they're violent, because they threaten us, and they are threatening. They bring that desert stuff to our world. I said the same thing Friday night. You know, we don't threaten each other. We sue each other. That's the sign of civilized people. and they don't. You know, yes, we do have religious nuts in this country. There was a cleric in Iran who recently said that earthquakes were caused by slutty women. Well, Pat Robertson once said that abortions caused hurricanes, I think. But the difference is Pat Robertson doesn't have the power to cut your arms off. You know, I mean, people who want to gloss over the difference between Western culture and Islamic culture and forget about the fact that the Islamic culture is 600 years younger and that they are going through the equivalent of what the West went through with our Middle Ages, our Dark Ages, when religion had way too much power, and we had inquisitions and things like that, do so at their peril. You know, when they caught this guy, yeah, go ahead.
No, when you hear, you know, the off refrain from American Muslims, and the vast majority of American Muslims, you know, abhor this kind of stuff, you know, they will say, look, Islam is a religion of peace. Do you buy that?
Yeah, they blow you up. There's a PC over there. There's a PC over there. There's a PC over there. Is it a religion of peace? You know, I don't know. I have not read the Quran in its original. When you read the translation, there are many, many, many passages that are not peaceful at all, that are about killing the infidel and so forth. There are many passages like that in the Bible too. Not as many. And we don't take it seriously. That's the difference. We blow off our religions. If we took the Bible seriously, we'd look over our fence on Sunday morning, see our neighbor mowing his lawn and think, working on Sunday, I really should kill him. But we don't do that. But, you know, there are entire schools. You know this, Anderson. You're a globetrotter. You've been to madrasas in Pakistan and so forth. Entire schools where the kids read just one book. They're memorizing the Quran. That's all they do. You know, that's not what we do in this country.
There you go.
They always say no justice, no peace. So I don't.
No pieces?
No. I mean, look, you could see Anderson Cooper trying to hold back his laughter. He was like, "Oh yeah, that joke hits."
So, obviously, it's completely fair and not racist or bigoted to talk about cultural memes or norms that exist in specific religions, specific religious sects, or countries. broadly. I don't think that's racist or bigoted. If they're true, obviously. It would be bigoted to say, well, okay, I'm going to automatically assume that any individual that practices that religion or comes from that country is going to necessarily, follow that prescription or follow that cultural value or something. Right. And I guess you could, if you want to criticize Bill, you could say, okay, you could have been a little bit more specific to say, like, yeah, there are definitely people that follow Islam who do so in a more liberal way, right? Or
Yeah.
not so much a fundamental way, and they, they're in America or other countries, and they can definitely assimilate into what less, liberal secular democracies without a problem. But he seems to be talking about very specifically like countries that are sort of existing under Islamic rule. And I believe this is in response to one of those attacks on an artist or something, for drawing Muhammad or, making fun of Islam in some capacity. So
I just think it's hilarious that we finally have an argument between two sides that are both using the same tactic of not separating the behavior from the person. So you've got the Brianna on the anti-Israel side, and everyone's saying, look, you hate Jewish people, you're anti-Semitic. And she's like, no, it's the behavior of the Zionists. It's just the Zionist behavior that I'm against. I love Jewish people. A bunch of Jewish people are on my side. We have Jewish people in the protests, right? And then on the other side, you've got people saying, oh, these savage Hamas, they're bloody terrorists. And you've got Brianna Greyjoy then saying, oh, of course, like you're talking about all Muslims, every Muslim everywhere, every Palestinian, every brown person in the world. That's who you mean when that's what you say. It's patently obvious. It's like, why is this happening in one person's pitch? It's like, it's insane.
that is hilarious.
Can't she
That's a great
Can't
point,
she
though.
say, look, they're doing the same thing I'm doing with Jewish people? Why can't she just say that? Why can't she make that distinction? We're all talking about the behavior, right? But we all know secretly that Brianna hates Jewish people, right?
Well, it's interesting because, Brianna even said, I think she said in the debate that we watched, that she kind of like views the Palestinian situation as like something to do with like Black liberation in America, or like an analogous thing to
She
Black
did
liberation
say
in
that.
America or South Africa, which is kind of like ridiculous. And so it's like she's the one that's adding this like bizarre race essentialist lens to the Israel-Palestine conflict. When it's like for most people, like especially like when I say most people, I mean like normies, not people that like, watch political stuff online who are usually like their opinions are based off of, some like other principle. But for most normies, it's just like, first of all, they see pictures of people that are like dying. They see like dead children, obviously that no one wants that. But when you talk about like broadly having these opinions on things, I think most people, they just say, well, I look at like the country of Israel, and it seems like those people and that government share values that I would recognize. That if I went to that country, I would feel safe. I don't think I'd get thrown in jail for like, wearing spaghetti strap t-shirt or a crop top or something, right? Or for being gay. And then you say, well, if I was walking around in like Gaza, you're not so sure, right? You wouldn't feel necessarily safe, doing some of those activities, and you don't really necessarily see like a culture there that, at least this is a perception, maybe it's not true, but the perception is you don't see a culture there that kind of mirrors or reflects, Western liberal secular democracies. And that's why people, I think, on average, are more likely to support Israel rather than Palestine. It has nothing to do with like them saying like, oh, I see the Israelis as white people and I see the Palestinians as not white people. Because you see a lot of Israelis, they're not like, they don't look like white Europeans. Okay, like this is a complete weird, like straw man that Brianna has constructed in her head.
Yeah. Yes. She mentions that in the debate. She's like, an immigrant from Brooklyn or
Germany or something.
Germany. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Like they're all, yeah.
Did you
Okay.
see the tweet that Phil shared? We should watch that, because I think so much of the media is just gaslighting these people. This person who's obviously LGBT, I think it's a guy dressed up as a drag
Of course.
And he goes to interview this woman about the Israel-Palestine conflict, and she's like, "Oh, I'm pro-Palestine." It's like, well, how? Like, do you know that I would be killed in Palestine? That they're completely anti-gay? And she's like, "No, I didn't know that." It's like these people are just dumbasses, Sitch. They're following the current thing. Yeah, I sent you a link to it.
I have it up. Yeah,
I can bring it up.
Okay. Well, that's so weird too. Yeah. How many people even understand what's going on? How many are just following like the current trend, the current thing because of the like NPC behavior? But
Yeah, exactly.
And
Okay.
so I did.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
And so I did a study abroad in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine.
Would you say you're pro-Palestine or pro-Israel?
Pro-Palestine.
As a gay man, I would be punished and or put in prison or killed if I were openly gay in Palestine. How do you react to that?
I didn't know that. So
It is illegal to be gay in Palestine. You are punished by prison or death.
Israel?
No, Israel has gay pride. Israel is completely open to lesbian and gay people.
So
Palestine puts them in prison or kills them. You weren't aware of that?
I was not aware of that, no. So that does pose an interesting aspect.
Have you seen the Queers for Palestine movement? It's a very common movement, but I don't see any Muslims for Queer movements.
Yes. That's where it gets gray, right? Like, that's where I feel
Well,
like...
for me, it's not gray. I am fearful of Islam because there is no Islamic country on earth that embraces me as a gay man.
So, okay, so maybe I'm confused because Israel, which is still an Islam country, right?
No, Jewish.
Okay.
So Israel's Jewish, Palestinians are Islamic.
Okay.
I got to point out that Lady MAGA USA
And so I did a study abroad in the
is
middle.
like sharing this. What's that make you think?
Who? Okay. This person in the beginning of the clip? They said they studied abroad in the Middle East.
Right.
What? And they don't know that Israel is not considered an Islamic country. Like what the hell? What do they study? Where do they study? Like what's going on here?
Oh man, did they learn this stuff abroad?
They're like so weird.
Yeah. Or maybe she's just bullshitting. Maybe she's just lying, right?
Lying, yeah, that's possible. Well, and the thing is, and this is what's so weird. Like, you could definitely make the argument that, like, okay, just because I don't agree with the politics of the Hamas doesn't mean that, like, I think innocent people should die in in Gaza, and you could still make the argument that you think.
What
are you doing? Stop.
Pause it. You keep unpausing him.
I was doing that. You talk.
Okay. That, you can still make the argument like, oh, I don't support the politics, I don't support the culture or the government, but, doesn't mean that they all deserve to die, right? Like, you can still just make that argument, but then I don't think they want to make that argument. At least Brianna doesn't want to make that argument because she doesn't want Israel to even exist. And she wants them to have this, like, it's so annoying. They push this complete weird lie. And it's a talking point because until like a few months ago, you weren't really hearing anyone on the left saying this. You weren't really hearing them push this, like, we need to have this magical one state multicultural democracy. That wasn't like a talking point until very recently. And then as soon as like it somehow catches on, suddenly here they're all saying it, right?
Oh yeah.
All the like the far left people are saying it. You're like, well, this was never an option. This was never on the table. It was just a talking point that someone came up with, and they all just say, "Oh, that sounds good." It makes it easier to argue on the internet about the topic if I just kind of like make up a solution that's not viable.
Exactly. Look, it's all about virtue signaling anyway. And if you're going to virtue signal, who cares if it's true? Who cares if it'll work, Sitch? You're just trying to look virtuous. It's like coming out and saying, "Look, I'm for world peace." Yeah, so am I. World peace would be great. It's just all these other motherfuckers that keep fucking it up. All right. Are we back on track here?
We're back.
Did you pause enough times? You want to pause a couple more times?
Hold on.
Just tolerance, saying that it doesn't.
Is that good? Was that good? Are we better? Okay.
All right.
Exist in Gaza. Meanwhile, you'll rarely hear mention of the fact that, say, interfaith marriage isn't permissible in Israel. It's not allowed in Gaza, but
What's up with that, Sitch? Oh, these terrible Israelis. They don't allow interfaith marriage. Is that
It is
true?
pretty fucked up. I think that is true. Yeah,
Okay,
they're
look.
pretty fucked up.
Now I'm pro Palestine.
Well, I don't think they allow interfaith marriage or gay marriage in Israel, to my understanding.
Really? Oh, no gay marriage, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, Stone Age.
So I do think if you go out of Israel and you get interfaith married or gay married,
Gay
and then
married?
come back, I do believe the country recognizes it. They just don't perform it.
Okay.
The case being made is not that Gazans deserve rights because of religious tolerance, but it's that they deserve to live because they're human beings. It's a deeply segregated society in Israel where 98% of Jews say all or most of their friends are Jewish and 85% of Muslims say the same. I don't think you'll hear Mar speak up for Palestinian Christians either. Remember, former Congressman Justin Amash lost several relatives when Israel bombed a Christian Orthodox church in Gaza, where people had been sheltering along with sleeping children and babies. 150 to 200 people were killed in that attack by Israel. Israel is a country that imposes segregated roads for Jews and Arabs. This map shows how Palestinians are forced through checkpoints, where they're forced to wait for hours and are subjugated to humiliating treatment. As one Palestinian doctor explained, my family members cross this checkpoint at 4 a.m., then sleep in their car until they start work at 8 a.m. This is apartheid. While Palestinians in Gaza have maintained...
It's really weird because this is they're talking about people, it sounds like she's talking about people that are not citizens of Israel going into Israel. Well, it's not apartheid if you're like not part of the country. Like, this is why it's so weird. They keep saying it's apartheid, it's apartheid. It's like, yeah, but if you're not a citizen of the country, it's literally not apartheid. You're part of a different country. You're not a citizen of the country.
Right.
So
beat up on you.
I mean, I guess the argument, right? I guess the argument that she'd be saying is like, well, you know, Israel posts, you know, de facto controls it via, you know, the military embargo and blockade. So therefore, it is, you know, it is a apartheid situation or something.
Look, and Brianna better not come after me for that dirty foreigner comment, because her whole argument is that Israel is a bunch of dirty foreigners that need to go home.
That's true.
That's 100% her argument.
Well, I would be curious to ask Brianna this question, which is there any like set of facts where she would say that Israel having a security checkpoint between Israel and Palestine is something that she would say is justifiable at any point?
No,
or would she just keep saying
not.
like, this would be an interesting question to ask anyone you have these conversations with, if they say no, and it's like, okay, why is it not justifiable? And they're like, well, because, you know, the settlers. Like, okay, what if they got rid of the settlers? Would it be justifiable? No, because, you know, they're doing an embargo or blockade. Well, if they got rid of the blockade, would it be justified if there was violence was still coming in, you know, across the border? You know, no, you just kind of like run down the thing and see, because I wouldn't be surprised that, Brianna, if you ran down the track of this question of like, when is it like viable or not viable to have a security checkpoint, that she would basically, you'd come to the conclusion at the end of it that her entire position would say no sort of blockade, no sort of security checkpoint is viable until the right of return is given to every Palestinian and Israel no longer exists, and it exists as a one state, you know, her magical multicultural one state that no one wants, right?
Yeah, that's what she's going for.
Right. Which, if that's your position, if that was her position, then that would mean that she's basically, her or anyone has crafted a worldview where Israel has no justifiable security protection or military action it could ever give at any point to protect itself, as long as there's like, you know, two states on the table, which is ridiculous. And what I would suspect her beliefs would lead down that pathway.
You have to right the wrongs of history before anything can happen, Sitch. It's very simple, okay? These people need to go home.
Jewish graves were one. CNN reported that at least 16 Gazan cemeteries have been desecrated by Israeli forces since October 7th. While Biden repeated the beheaded baby lie, he's been silent on the viral image of a Palestinian baby decapitated by Israel during the Memorial Day massacre. or the thousands of Gazan children who live without limbs because of Israeli airstrikes and sniper fire. Well, Israel made rape accusations, which were quickly used to justify the mass murder of Palestinian civilians. Subsequent investigations haven't turned up a single incident of rape on October 7th. Meanwhile, UN...
That's not remotely true. I don't even know why she didn't say that.
I wish it would cut to Robbie sitting there so silently having to take all of this. I would I would like to get some of his facial expressions as she's throwing this out. All the rape accusations on October 7th were fake.
It's like,
Robbie's got to be rolling his eyes out of his head right now.
It's funny because, like, she was, really big on pushing, the UN when they were doing their sort of like, is Israel doing war crimes, kind of thing. But then she ignores when the UN, also says that there's, they believe that, it's highly likely that, rape occurred on October 7th, right? She ignores that, that incident. And she ignores there's people that claim directly that they were sexually assaulted and raped on October 7th. There's people that claim they witnessed people being sexually assaulted and raped on October 7th. So
yeah, they got tons of interviews with those people.
Yeah, so it's really fucking weird for her to say this, to make this claim. So
what is this? Did we get a super chat from our beloved queen?
Uh-oh.
What happened here?
Thank you so much, Anna Kasparin. Look at that for $10. Anna says, I did make that comment about Hasan because he's a POS who throws family under the bus to appease the rabid mob in his audience. My strongest elephant is loyalty, especially to my family. Look at that. We got to answer the question. Well, thank you, Anna, for letting us know. I was curious.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm not surprised too. So, yeah, it seemed pretty effed up. It seemed pretty effed up. And a weird comment that he made. So.
Yes, yeah. Well, good job. I support.
Nice. I'm glad you got that look out of Jank. The stunned one. Okay, let's keep going.
Experts have reported on gross human rights violations, including sexual assault against Palestinian women and girls in Israeli custody. Mar says Israelis look like us in most ways, values-wise, maybe, but perhaps only because America also fails to live up to its democratic aims. Just last week, The Guardian reported that an Israeli Mossad director personally threatened the UN court's prosecutor to avoid accountability for its crimes against Palestinians, stalking her and threatening her family like a common thug. And while Israel's defenders often claim...
Obviously, it's like, if that's true, like, that's totally fucking crazy. Obviously, that's wild. If that's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame that she puts it right after there were no sexual assaults on October 7th claim, because it makes you think, maybe that one isn't true either.
Let's see. Here's the articles from The Guardian. It says, the former head of the Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence agency, allegedly threatened a chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court in a series of secret meetings in which he tried to pressure her into abandoning a war crimes investigation. The Guardian can reveal Yossi Cohen's covert contacts, the ICC then prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, took place in the years leading up to her decision to open a formal investigation into alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity into the occupied Palestinian territories. That investigation launched in 2021, culminated last week when their successor, Karman Khan, announced that he was seeking an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The prosecutor's decision to apply the ICC's pretrial chamber for arrest warrants for Netanyahu is an outcome Israel's military and political establishment has long feared. Cohen's personal involvement in the operation against the ICC took place when he was the director of the Mossad. His activities were authorized at high level and justified on the basis the court posed a threat of prosecutions against military personnel, according to a senior Israeli official. Another Israeli source briefed on the operation against Bensouda said Mossad's objective was to compromise the prosecutor or enlist her as someone that would cooperate with Israel's demands. The third source familiar with the operation said Cohen was acting as Netanyahu's unofficial messenger. Cohen was one of... Okay, but what did they say? Tell me what they did. 4 sources confirmed that Bensouda had briefed a small group of senior ICC officials about Cohen's attempt to sway her amid concerns about increasingly persistent and threatening nature of his behavior. What did he do, though?
Yeah, what
Did
was
he
the
just-
threatening nature? Did he call too many times? Did he leave too many voicemails?
Right, like if he like shows up at your house and he's like, you know, it's a nice looking family got here. You know, hate to see if there was a Palestinian tunnel under it, right? Like then you'd be like, oh, okay, that's pretty threatening.
Oh my god!
Sure, but or should he just call and be like, you know, we the Israeli government think that this is like bullshit. Like, tell me what they said. Okay, I'm gonna keep going into the article, see if they explain. 3 of the sources were familiar with Bensoda's formal disclosures to ICC. They said she revealed Cohen to put pressure on her on several occasions not to proceed with the criminal investigation. According to accounts shared with ICC officials, oh, here we go. He's alleged to have told her, quote, "You should help us and let us take care of you. You don't want to be getting into things that could compromise your security or that of your family." Holy
Wow.
shit.
Okay, so he did.
Whoa. Okay, interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Well, this is weird. Is she? It says with account shared. Is she making this accusation? What's her response to this? One individual briefed on Cohen's activities said he had used despicable tactics. Well, obviously, it's despicable if true. The Mossad had taken a keen interest in Bensoda's family members and obtained transcripts of secret recordings of her husband. According to 2 sources with direct knowledge of the situation, Israeli officials attempted to use that material to discredit the prosecutor.
So this is a third party that's saying he said this
These are
to
all
her?
3rd, 4th, 5th parties. None of this is,
Okay.
at least in this article, none of this is her making these accusations. They're all
Right.
sources
Okay.
briefed, you know, source claims, right?
Right.
Um,
Well, that's not good.
well, yeah, but I mean, if she comes out and says it,
Yeah, where's her testimony?
Where's her
though?
testimony? Because I mean, if this is true, I mean, if this is true, it's fucking crazy. If this is true, I'd be like, you know, like we shouldn't support Israel.
Right.
Israel's like threatening like UN officials with like murder. That's pretty like I don't think we should be signing up with that behavior, obviously. That's super fucked up. Let's see if the article says anything else that's of interest. Well, the spokesperson declined to comment on specific allegations. They said Khan's office. Okay, here we go. The spokesperson for the ICC would not say whether Khan had reviewed his predecessor's disclosures about her contacts with Cohen, but said Khan had never met or spoken to the head of Mossad. While the spokesperson declined to comment on specific allegations, they said Khan's office had been subjected to several forms of threats and communications that could be viewed as attempts to unduly influence his activities. I mean, that's kind of weasel words. Like, well, we've had communications that could be viewed as attempts to unduly influence. It's like, well, what does that mean, right? Why is there not like a formal investigation? Like, this is, I guess I'm a little suspect because, like, if you're working for the UN and you literally have like Mossad coming on your door threatening your family, like, why would the UN not investigate it? That's not like UN is some, you know, big love of Israel. Right?
And
They
this
say,
is
like,
what led to the arrest warrant being put out for Bibi Netanyahu?
No. This is unrelated to that. There was a woman who was kind of working on the case before the guy now, which led to the arrest warrant thing currently.
Right.
And this article is claiming that someone, you know, sources told the Guardian that the woman
She
who's
left
working on the
because
case
she was
now.
threatened.
Well, it doesn't
Or-
say that she left because she was threatened. It just said that she was threatened.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, this should be like massively investigated if it's true. Get the bottom of it. According to 2 sources, they were even suspicious among senior ICC officials that Israel had cultivated sources within the court's prosecution decision. What are all these sources? Let's see. Only a small group of senior figures at the ICC, however, were informed that the director of Mossad had personally approached the chief prosecutor. Okay. Cohen's first interaction with Bensoda appears to have taken place at the Munich Security Conference in 2017. When the Mossad director introduced himself to the prosecutor in a brief exchange after this encounter, Cohen subsequently ambushed, I like how they say ambushed in quotes, scare quotes, Bensoda in a bizarre episode in a Manhattan hotel suite, according to multiple sources familiar with the incident. Bensoda was in New York in 2018 on an official visit, was meeting Kabila, then the president of the DRC, at his hotel. The pair met several times before, blah, blah, blah. The meeting, however, appeared to be set up. At a certain point, after Bensoda's staff were asked to leave the room, Cohen entered. According to 3 sources familiar with the meeting, the surprise appearance, they said, caused alarm to Bensoda and a group of ICC officials traveling with her. Why Kaba helped Cohen is unclear, but ties between the two men were revealed. Okay, what did they say, though? What did she say? At the surprise meeting, Cohen repeatedly phoned the chief prosecutor and sought meetings with her. 3 sources were called. According to 2 people familiar with the situation, at one stage, Bensoda asked Cohen how he had obtained her phone number, to which he replied, "Did you forget what I do for a living?" That's pretty basic reply. Initially, the sources explained the intelligence chief tried to build a relationship with the prosecutor and play good cop in an attempt to charm her. The initial objective, they said, appeared to have been to enlist Bensoda into cooperating with Israel. Over time, however, the tone of Cohen's contact changed, and he began to use a range of tactics, including threats and manipulation, an individual briefed on the meeting said. This prompted Bensoda to inform a small group of ICC officials about his behavior. In December of 2019, the prosecutor announced that she had grounds to open a full criminal investigation into the war crimes in Gaza. Yeah, but wouldn't you also open an investigation into, like, if the guy's like threatening you, like in your family, with violence? Why wouldn't you open an investigation into that? Between 2019 and 2021, the sources said there are at least 3 encounters between Cohen and Bensoda, all initiated by the spy chief. His behavior is said to have become increasingly concerning to ICC officials. Well, if this is true, obviously that would make sense. A source familiar with Bensoda's accounts of the final 2 meetings with Cohen said he had raised questions about her security and that of her family in a manner that led her to believe he was threatening her. On one occasion, Cohen is said to have shown Bensoda copies of photographs of her husband, which were taken covertly when the couple was visiting London. On another, according to sources, Cohen suggested to the prosecutor that a decision to open a full investigation would be detrimental to career. 4 sources familiar with the situation said it was around the same time that Bensoda and the other ICC officials discovered that that information was circulating among diplomatic channels relating to her husband, who worked as an international affairs consultant. Between 2019 and 2020, the Mossad has been actively seeking compromising information on prosecutors that took interest into her family members. The spy agency obtained a cache of materials, including transcripts of apparent sting operations against her husband. It's unclear who conducted these operations, precisely what he's alleged to send the recordings. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Between 2019 and 2020, in an unprecedented decision, the Trump administration imposed visa restrictions and sanctions on the chief prosecutor. That's weird. On this lady that they're talking about. Oh, the move was in that's not weird. This move was in retaliation to Bensoda's pursuit of a separate investigation, the war crimes in Afghanistan. That's kind of a dick move, but let's see. I don't know, man. It's pretty fucking crazy. I would say that, I mean, it's weird to me. If these accusations are true, and I was president, I'd say we're not going to support Israel until you fucking fire and jail this guy and anyone involved with this, because obviously that's super fucked up, right? But
And yeah, using Mossad to intimidate UN officials is
and threatening them,
a little,
a little fucked up. Yeah, right. Obviously,
a little unhinged,
a little
right?
unhinged, right?
What was Bill Maher saying about how we sue people? That's how we do it in our civilized society.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unless, of course, they're going to open some sort of war crimes investigation on you. Then you threaten their family.
Sure.
Right?
Of course, of course. But I'm curious if she's ever officially said any of this happened, because this is all just saying sources say, right? Like, why?
Right, like it
she
could all
say?
just be a fanciful tale, right?
Of course, it could all be bullshit.
Yeah.
So
Could be counter espionage. A
Right.
story planted by Hamas
Mm-hmm.
to make Israel look terrible.
Sure, it could be, or it could be real. I have no clue. But if it's true, obviously we should do something about it. If it's not true, then who cares? But definitely ICC should get to the bottom of it, or at least fucking investigate it. So interesting.
Claim contradictorily that it's a Jewish state, but also a pluralistic democracy where everyone is equal. Israel refuses to allow 5 million Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank to either have their own state and self-determination, or alternatively, to participate in Israeli society as full rights-having voting members of one united state. They brag about Arabs comprising 20% of the Israeli public, but insist that Palestinians are too intrinsically dangerous to live amongst in greater numbers. Well, which is it? If Israel is proof of a democratic, pluralistic dream, why is this so-called equality reserved for some Palestinians, but not for others? I had to confront this warped logic about a month ago when I participated in a debate on whether Israel's siege on Gaza is a just war. Shortly after, the existence of Arabs in Israel was cited at that debate as evidence of Israel's inclusivity and its validity as a democratic ally. A pro-Zionist panelist argued that Palestinians living in the occupied territories should not have the right to return to their homeland in what is now called Israel because they're unsuitable neighbors, unlike, say, people from Denmark.
There are 2 million Arabs that live in Israel. There are 0 Jews that live in Gaza. Right? It's a relevant data point. Zionism is about this creation of the state of Israel, which was created. Are you a Zionist or are you an anti-Zionist? What I'm trying to figure out is if my opponents here believe that the state of Israel should exist at all, and if we should wipe a UN member nation off the map, because that is effectively what right of return is. The right of return does not take 7 million refugees, and this number expands. These are people who have never been in the area, have resettled other places. And you know, Benny Morris's book is far more nuanced than that is allowing, that there were people who were expelled, there were people that were forced out by their own side, etc. Benny Morris has actually said this, and then you quoted him, so let me go to him, that if you do have right of return, which by the way, 7 million people doesn't mean 7 million people that go to the West Bank and Gaza. Very specifically doesn't mean that. It goes to what Israel is now. In what Morris said, and I think it was an article in Tablet, he said, you know, the response to this is if you think October 7th is bad, this is going to be a giant bloodletting. This is not as if 7 million Danes are coming in. These are people who have an ideological predisposition.
You might be.
She cut him off, but I don't understand. It's very simple logic. It's like, how does the group treat the minority group? And the argument is Israel has a minority of Islamic Palestinians that it treats just fine. And in these Islamic states, they've basically run off all of the minority population of Jews. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is a relevant data point, obviously. So if you let all of these people in, you're going to have a majority population of Palestinians. And how are they going to treat the minority population of Jewish people, Sitch? What's going to happen there?
I mean, probably not great, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And, you know, she cut off.
Oh, yeah, she totally cut him off like mid-sentence.
Right. And it's like, his point, you know, she's gonna try to like make it like a race thing, right? Like, oh, he said Danes, right? So obviously he's saying it's okay to
how do the
white
Danes
people,
how do the Danes treat their minority populations?
Right.
That's the relevant point.
It is a relevant point, you know, but it's even more extreme than just how do they treat the minority population, because it's like, okay, you have, you know, a lot of the Palestinian culture and people in the region, because it's been in conflict with Israel for 75 years, right? There's a lot of animosity towards Israelis, and there's a lot of animosity from Israelis towards Palestinians, obviously. And so the idea that you can have like a massive influx of millions of people that have both cultures have massive animosity towards each other, and you think it's just going to like magically become a nice, peaceful, harmonious, multicultural democracy is kind of ridiculous.
Totally ridiculous.
And obviously no such cultural animosity exists between, you know, the people of Denmark and Israelis. And that was his point, totally. Right? That was his point. And so, but she's going to try to twist it around and make it like a race thing.
Yeah, that's their signature move, right? Yeah. Turn it into, you did a racism. You did a race. Look, they can do racisms all day long because obviously, you know, any progressive who's a racist, that's like laughable, right?
Yeah. It's like, you know, Brianna, if you're the country of Israel, who do you think that if they have to choose between two immigrant groups, okay, who do you think they're going to choose? Are they going to choose, you know, if they have to choose 1 million Black Jews or 1 million white nationalists? who hate Jews. Like, who do you think they're gonna be like more inclined to be like, oh yeah, well, we'll who do you think they're gonna take? They're gonna take the white nationalists that hate Jews just because they're white? Like, obviously not.
Yeah.
Right.
Great point. Excellent way to look at it.
It could be the culture and the ideology that's the concerning factor here, not the skin color. Just a guess.
Asking yourself why one would presume there'd be a bloodletting if Palestinians have the right of return, especially given that, as he mentioned, 20% of Israel is currently composed of Palestinians. Again, this is supposed to be...
You dumbass!
I know. It's so silly.
You dumbass. Hey, look, 80-20. Who's the majority? Who's the minority? You dumbass. Do you know how democracy works? What happens when 80% of people vote for a candidate and 20% vote for the other candidate? What happens then?
Well,
I just so stupid.
I know.
And they call themselves Democrats. Fucking morons.
And also, like, this right of return thing, how many, even if, say, like, Israel said, okay, we're going to do a right of return, which, by the way, means, which she's kind of leaving out, people leave out, it means that what you're saying is that if someone who's Palestinian has claimed to property that they lost 75 years ago, that you're going to evict whoever is living there currently,
right,
and tell them to get lost, and to have the Palestinian people that are claiming to have this move in, right? So first of all, how difficult is this going to be for anyone to even produce evidence that they own a specific land in the first place 75 years ago?
That evidence is going to be challenged in courts all over the place. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, I have a key. Oh, you have a key to a door that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
We burned that thing 50 years ago.
Right. So it's like, and so I would wager, even if Israel was like, oh, sure, you can do this right of return thing, but you have to provide evidence of it. There'd be some people that maybe could somehow win a court case that could have evidence for something 75 years ago, but the overwhelming majority are not going to be able to produce evidence that they rightfully own land from 75 years ago. And what's going to happen? Well, there's going to be a bunch of violence because people are going to be really unhappy about that.
There's this book, Political Tribes, by Amy Chua, and she talks about this was our big mishap in Iraq. We were like, look, we're going to make you a democracy. And all of a sudden you had this population that was shut out of power, that was basically a majority population that had been tyrannized by the minority population for like generations. What happens when you give them democracy? They're going to get even.
Right.
So this is just Iraq playing out all over again. And she just wants to say, oh yeah, good, let's do that. Why? Why do you want to make the same mistake all over again?
Right. Well, that's what's weird too. It's like, yeah, you had with Iraq, Saddam was Sunni, and they were, the Sunnis were the minority, but he had the Sunnis, kind of filling up the minority positions and ruling over the Shia. And then, yeah, when, Saddam is toppled, then we're like, okay, Sunnis and Shias, you guys need to play nice now, and a democracy, and a multicultural democracy where you all get the same rights. What happened? Oh, a civil war broke out for the next, decade.
Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen if you let all those Palestinians, like the Palestinian majority, take over Israel. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Or even if it's not even if they're not a majority, it's just like if the Palestinian people, again, don't want to live in a single state with Israelis, don't want to live in a single state with Israelis under a secular liberal democracy, then they're not going to. And that's what's so ridiculous. She keeps broaching this thing. The polling does not show that that's what either Israelis or Palestinians want, that they want this magical one-state solution.
This is what Brianna wants.
Yeah, it's like a good talking point, I guess, they keep bringing up, because it's something you can argue on the internet, and you could say, oh, well, you want it to be like America, right? It's like, yeah, I would love, listen, if, the majority of the Palestinians were like, yeah, I would love to live in a one-state secular liberal democracy with Israel, I would be like, okay, let's do that. Let's fucking do that. But that's not real. It's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
The evidence of how democratic and inclusive Israel is. That panelist, Michael Monahan, seems to imply there's something specific to Danish people that qualifies them as neighbors over Palestinians, or perhaps something intrinsic to Palestinians or Arabs as a people that disqualifies.
So I found the poll. Okay. Found the poll. This is from December of 2022, right? So this is from before October 7th, right? So who knows what it looks like now. But before October 7th, only 23% of Palestinians wanted to live in a one democratic state with equality. 23%.
23%, huh?
Yeah. 33% wanted to live in a two-state separate situation, and 30% wanted to live in a non-democratic state without equality.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So this is like ridiculous. This whole concept is ridiculous.
Yeah. Look, they believe in magic. They're utopians. Right. Of course they believe in magic.
Mm-hmm.
They believe just, we don't need property rights. Everyone will work for free.
Right.
They completely do not understand human nature, so.
Qualifies them. What is it about the relationship between Israelis and Palestinians that would make the former feel unsafe? Well, one big difference I can think of is that Zionist Jewish settlers never committed ethnic cleansing against Danish people. They never slaughtered 15,000 Danes while expelling another 75,000 from their land.
So this is insane because not only is she saying, like, you should just let all of these Palestinians in and give them voting rights, she's also giving them justification to use those voting rights to get fucking even.
Right, or just even justification for violence even. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
ridiculous.
It's like, what the fuck? What is happening here, Sage?
Like, yeah, Brianna, you're right.
Real?
There's been violence for the last 75 years between these two groups of people. You're completely correct. That kind of makes sense why they don't necessarily want to live together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look, they want a cooling off period. Brianna, I don't know if you're married or not, but look, do you understand the cooling off period? You go to your room, he goes to his room.
Right.
Everyone chills for a bit. You're like, wow, maybe I was a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
You come back and then, everything's better again. We need a cooling off period here. We just had October 7th.
Right.
Jeez, get the fuck out of here.
But you can imagine the counterfactual if Michael Monahan had immigrated from New York to live in a Danish man's house while the original occupant was forced to live in an open-air prison where his calories were meted out by a government.
Open-air prison, everyone take a drink. Who's got their cocktail?
Take a shot.
Look, it's open-air prison, genocide, ethnic cleansing. Remember the buzzwords. Get ready, get your cocktail out.
Run by immigrants from Eastern Europe and the United States. I suspect it would put a bit of a damper on the jolly relationship he seems to enjoy with the people of Denmark. In short, Palestinian resistance is about reclaiming what they have been denied, the right of return, achieving self-determination. But once you admit that, you have to acknowledge that the obvious answer to how to achieve peace involves allowing Palestinians to return to their land and live as co-equal citizens in historic Palestine if they so choose, even if that means the end of Israel's existence as a Jewish majority ethno-state. Political scientist John Mearsheimer, who gained new prominence as an early critic of America's Ukraine strategy and who wrote a seminal book on the Israel lobby, made exactly this argument when asked whether he believed Hamas was motivated by anti-Semitism or by some intrinsic quality to Arabs or Muslims.
When you have a disaster, and what happened on October 7th is a disaster, one of the first things that happens is that people begin to ask the question, how did this happen? Right? What's the root cause of this problem? This is a disaster. We have to understand what caused it so that we can work to make sure it doesn't happen again. So we can work to shut it down and then make sure it doesn't happen again. Mm-hmm. But once you start talking about the root causes, right, you end up talking about how Israel was created, right? And that means telling a story that is not pretty about how the Zionists conquered Palestine. And number two, it means talking about the occupation, right? It's not like Hamas attacked riot on October 7th because there were just a bunch of anti-Semites who hated Jews and wanted to kill Jews. This is not, Nazi Germany, right? This is directly related to the occupation and to what was going on inside of Gaza. And it's not in Israel's interest or the lobby's interest to have an open discourse about what the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians since, I would say, roughly 1903, when the second Aliyah came to Israel, or came to what was then Palestine, right? We want to talk about that.
The lobby doesn't want us to talk about that.
Isn't Mearsheimer Putin's philosopher or something like that?
No, that's Dugan.
Oh, it's Dugan. Yeah, you're right.
Mearsheimer was his take about Russia was real fucking weird. It was like, well, it's all U.S.'s fault, and
Dugan's or Mearsheimer's?
Mishmeyer,
right.
Mearsheimer, whatever his name is. And to me, his take seemed to be like he'd been making predictions. He made all these predictions about like how he didn't think the global rules-based order and liberal order would work. And so he'd been making predictions for like 20 years about how it's all going to fall apart. And one of those predictions was that Russia was going to, become violent again. And all of his other predictions failed because he kind of made these predictions that Europe was going to all like start fighting each other violently, that Japan was going to get violent. And none of those things came true, except finally now Russia has, the problem with Ukraine. So he's taking his victory lap like, see, I told you guys I was right. I was finally right. My prediction came true. It's like, okay, what about all these ones that didn't come true?
One of my 75 predictions came true.
Right.
Woo!
But regarding what he's saying here, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really heard someone make the comment that like, oh, well, they did October 7th just because, they have an irrational hatred of Jews. Like everyone understands that it's because of the conflict that's been going on for 75 years. Like that's the motivation. So I don't even know, like, it's like, duh, like it's not really in my mind an intelligent or noteworthy thing to even point out.
Yeah, of course. There's tension there. Duh.
Yes, exactly. I mean, they've been fighting each other for 75 years. There's a group of people, who have been basically forced, not just by Israel, but by the surrounding Arab countries to be in this kind of shitty situation for 75 years. And obviously it's going to cause violence and tensions.
Yeah, they've been lobbing missiles at Israel periodically. So,
right.
Like no mystery.
But that's exactly why we must. People like Bill Maher and Michael Moynihan hope that you'll indulge in the kind of race-reductive bigotry that the
Take a drink. Race-reductive bigotry. We have a new buzzword.
There you go. I like that. That's good.
It's fine. It's so ironic. So much of this is projection. Like, what do you think's what is a good name for this argument that Brianna does all the time? Oh, race-reductive bigotry.
Yeah, will crowd.
I'm glad.
Claims to hate as long as the people being essentialized are Muslim. And the people whose safety needs to be protected are the occupants of America's most expensive client state. This is the sophistry of Zionism, of all colonialism, to inflict violence, to ethnically cleanse, to kill, to starve, to rape, and then to accuse those who resist of being intrinsically and spontaneously violent. That's the name of the game. But it doesn't have to be this way. I'll leave you with some thoughts from Ali Abu Nima, co-founder of Palestine-focused independent media outlet Electronic Intifada, on how South Africa was able to come out of apartheid.
Whites in South Africa were absolutely resistant to the notion of a one-person, one-vote system. If you look at the surveys of white South Africans in the 1980s and into the early 1990s, remember this month, April 1994, April 2014, it's 20 years since the first democratic election in South Africa. But up until 1990, 91, 92, the vast majority of white South Africans were saying, well, we'll accept some kind of federation or some kind of group accommodation, but we absolutely will not accept a one-person, one-vote system because that will be the end of us. And it was consistent. The same in Northern Ireland. And what I trace in the book is that actually these positions that seem pervasive and entrenched among the ruling group actually can dissolve fairly quickly and be replaced by new narratives that are much more conducive to a more peaceful and just future. In South Africa, whites were able to embrace the idea of the rainbow nation. We can talk, and I do in the book, about the reality versus the vision, but they no longer said we must have apartheid or we'll be thrown into the sea.
Ask yourself, which is the regressive?
I mean, listen, if you want to make like the argument that you should have, two groups of people living together that have had conflict in the past and that you think that they can live together peacefully, I'm not sure South Africa is the example.
Yeah, I was wondering about South Africa. Everyone talks about South Africa being like a shithole, basically. So,
well, I mean, there's lots of violence. There's lots of violence from people in South Africa against the white population.
Winston on the China show is from South Africa, and he says it's terrible. It's one of the most racist places on the planet. Like he laughs about how Americans talk about race and how everyone in America, all the progressives in America, think America is like the most racist place in the world. And he's like,
Right.
Look, there is no racism in America by comparison to China, which he's lived in, or South Africa. So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
If you can make tangible change in the culture and that's what she's advocating for, go for it.
Yes,
But you can't do this one state solution until that cultural change happens.
Right.
That's the big takeaway there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I'm like, I thought it was like weird. That's like a weird example for him to bring up. It's also weird because so much of the conflict in the Middle East that exists today exists because after World War II, the European powers drew a bunch of lines when the Ottoman Empire fell to sort of declare like what is a country. And you basically had a bunch of people that lived together that didn't want to live together.
Right. Yeah.
You cause all this conflict. And so it's weird that it's like, oh, the solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict that's been going on for 75 years is to do the thing that we did after World War I.
Yeah, do the same thing.
Right.
Do the exact same thing.
Right.
Force all these people into our lines on the map.
So I was curious about this guy because I've never heard of him, Ali Abu Nama. All right. All right. So we did the thing.
Oh no, the October 7th test.
The October 7th test. Okay. So let's go back in time, see what Ali Abu Nama was saying on October 7th. Okay, here we go.
Oh no.
This is the first tweet on October 7th. The massive anti-colonial operation launched by the Palestinian resistance is still unfolding and clearly took the enemy totally by surprise. It is nonetheless the direct result of the enemy occupiers' relentless aggression backed by the West against the Palestinian people.
Right.
Okay.
That sounds pretty pro-Palestine.
I mean, it sounds pretty pro-October 7th. He's literally calling the Israel the enemy, and he's calling the Hamas, murderers, rapists, and kidnappers the Palestinian resistance.
Yeah.
After that, he said, the Palestinian resistance is burning Israeli tanks. Oh, look at that. Then he complains. He says, the context, Western propaganda always portrays the enemy occupier as the hapless victim. So he's saying, don't feel bad for these people, right? It's propaganda. Wow, he tweeted a lot on October 7th. He says, the enemy occupier has always excelled not at fighting, but at killing. But no matter what it does now in revenge, this is already a massive strategic surprise and defeat for the enemy, reminiscent of October 1973.
Could he, are these people just dim? Could he not see that they were going to turn Gaza into a parking lot shortly after this?
They don't care. These people don't care. It's all emotion. It's all just people caught up in their elephant. They're just so fucking high on righteous indignation that they don't care. They literally don't care.
Like the first thing I thought of was just, okay, a lot of innocent people are going to die now.
Yeah, that was literally I saw this. I'm like, holy shit, this is fucked. Like, this is insane. And then that was my first thought. Then my second thought was, well, that's not going to be good for the Palestinians either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was like immediately. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're like, oh boy, you're really getting in over your head here.
Right. This guy tweeted so much on October 7th. It's like he continues. The sophisticated and huge operation by the Palestinian resistance also sends a clear message that no matter how many Arab tyrants normalize with the enemy occupier, the occupier will never have security while the Palestinian people live under its regime of colonial terror. Okay? Is criticizing, the Abraham Accords and things of that nature.
It's hilarious that they were saying get rid of the security checkpoints and at the same time saying you'll never have security. It's like, what the fuck?
I know. And then, so there was someone who appears to be, this is the German ambassador to Israel. On October 7th, they said, all of my solidarity, this is on October 7th, all of my solidarity with the people of Esterat, where according to reports, terrorists from Gaza have intruded. Germany condemns this massive and ruthless attack on civilians by air and land. He responded to this twice, saying, naturally, all of Germany's solidarity is with the occupier and not with the colonized people who have every right to fight for their liberation, and Palestinians have every right to resist German-backed colonial barbarism. So he's directly supporting October 7th twice.
Nice.
Then he has another tweet. He says, incredible. Palestinian Defense Forces released this video of one of their elite units using paramotors, which participated in attacks on IDF terror bases along the boundary with Gaza. So he's praising, the little parachute guys.
It's just like parachute guy versus F-14. How do you think that's going to go, Sitch?
Right.
Who's going to win?
You know that video that we saw on October 7th, and it shows all the young people like running away from the
I do
concert.
remember. It's horrifying.
Yeah. And there's like a woman who's wearing she's got like a red shawl. You always see like at the beginning of the video, you see all these people running away, young people. So he quote tweeted that, and he said, settlers fleeing from the usurped lands they occupy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is the person that Brianna is
just quoted
selecting
here,
in her radar. Yeah. Saying something profound about the situation.
Right. She tweeted this fucking piece of shit as an example of him saying, like, this is why there should be a magical, peaceful one-state solution.
Right.
Brianna, you dumb fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Like, are you fucking for real? You're like, we should have a magical, one-state, peaceful, multicultural, liberal democracy. Let me quote this guy who's literally cheering on October 7th. Like, how do you fuck? Shut up, Brianna. Come on. Jeez.
Oh my, yeah. Oh my goodness.
What movie was that from? That's like one of my favorite quotes.
I'm not sure.
What was the Viggo Mortensen movie where he's like the assassin? History of Violence.
Oh, okay.
Remember? It's like, it's oh my God, what was his name? William Hurt is there, and they like try to capture him, and they all get killed. Great scene. Anyway, by the way, I've only, oh my God, I only read you a handful of them. This guy has like 50 tweets on October 7th. I've never seen anyone comment on October 7th so much. In my entire time of doing the October 7th test, I have never seen someone comment this much on October 7th. This man was furiously masturbating nonstop on Twitter on October 7th. He could not get enough of October 7th. He was drinking it in. Okay, he was having a grand old time. This guy has, I have to count. This is insane. Wait a minute. This guy's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 72. This man, this fucking messenger of fucking peace, has 72 pro-Hamas tweets on October 7th.
72, huh? An odd number for
70 fucking 2. This I've never put out 72 tweets on a single day in my entire fucking life, let alone on the worst terrorist attack that Israel ever incurred. This man was furiously whacking his fucking meat off to October 7th. He couldn't get enough of it. He was tweeting non-stop. This is insane to me.
How many hours are in a day, Sitch? Is that like that's like three? It's like 3 tweets an hour, right?
Well, okay. So there's
Look,
24
he's got to
hours.
sleep, right? I mean, let's
Right. So there's 24 hours in a day, right? So if we imagine that he sleeps 8 hours a day, right? So that's 16 hours. So if we take 72 divided by 16, all right, that means he had 4.5 tweets an hour, I guess, on October 7th, right? Just non-fucking stop on this thing. Holy shit. That's so crazy to me.
Why did he stop? Did he need a snack or something?
I mean, he'd been masturbating so furiously, he was out. He was totally out.
Malik for $5 says a tweet for each virgin.
Oh my God, you're right. Wait, was it intentional? What the fuck?
Oh my.
Was it intentional? That's so weird.
I know.
So fucking weird. How did that happen? What the fuck?
Yeah.
That is
the simulation just fucking with you.
No, wait. Shit. That has to be intentional, right? That has to be like for reals. That's got to be intentional, right? That can't just be a coincidence. Exactly 72. He's like, oh, for my brothers, I must support them by tweeting out 72 tweets. That's crazy. What the fuck?
I don't know if there's like a notepad with 72 hash marks on it. We know what happened.
Jesus. All right, Ali Abu Nama. I want to know, did you intentionally tweet out 72 tweets on October 7th because of the 72 virgins claim or something? Come on.
Look, we're 15 minutes into this video and Robbie hasn't got to speak once.
I know.
He's over there in the corner rolling his eyes out. He's probably Googling this guy.
Out of the 72 tweets, he also said, quote, there's people who are demanding we feel bad about it being October 7th. And he has a head blowing emoji. Then he says, yes, no more lectures about Gandhi, please.
Right.
In reference to October 7th. So.
Right. Because Gandhi's resistance actually worked, right?
Yes. Oh, so here we have the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. Okay.
Oh no.
Who says the news coming out of Israel is deeply disturbing. I condemn the terrorist attack to Hamas, and my thoughts are with those affected and with those who have lost loved ones. And he responds saying, "Scumbag."
No way.
Yes way.
That's it? Just scumbag?
He quote tweeted it and just said "scumbag."
Wow.
Yeah, I should actually. You know what? I'm gonna take a screenshot of this. I'm gonna send this to Brianna and say, "I'm so glad you tweeted. So glad you quoted this guy.
Do that.
On your radar the other day."
Yeah, do that. Tag her in it. Look, let me be the first to retweet that.
Okay.
Let's jump on in there.
Right. I'm gonna get blocked by her.
That's okay. Look, we'll get blocked together.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised I'm not blocked already, to be honest with
you. Okay, we can keep going with the video though.
No longer said we must have apartheid or will be thrown into the sea.
This is a guy saying, look, the Palestinians and the Israelis, they can just live in peace.
Right.
What a Trojan horse that guy is.
Ask yourself, which is the regressive backward approach? One person, one vote, religious and ethnic pluralism, like what we enjoy here in the United States, or the insistence on an ethno-state? Isn't it interesting that the men accusing Muslims of being too backward to live amongst are the ones arguing against a modern democracy?
No one is saying that they're too backward to live amongst. Nobody's saying that. That's not the claim. Dum-dum. Look at Robbie's face. Look at him.
I know.
Like, ah, shit. I knew when I saw that video.
Right.
I knew when I saw that video drop this weekend, I was going to get kicked. I knew it. I knew it. Okay, let's see how he responds.
I mean, I think the problem with that, and it's not going to be surprising to hear me say it, is that the people of Israel fear that the people of Palestine don't want to set up a pluralistic Western-style democracy. They want to set up, or will struggle to prevent the setting up of an Islamic authoritarian theocracy like they have currently in Gaza. And you can, disdain all you want the talk of thinking that Danes are inherently superior, but the Danish people have set up a social democracy, as have other European countries, whereas the Islamic world has extremist Muslim theocracies, and the people of Israel don't want that to happen to them. 70% of the people in Gaza supported the actions taken by Hamas. It's not as many as that now, thank goodness, but there's still support for violent resistance against Israel and support for Hamas. So that is the fear, that is the unwillingness to allow them to have self-determination. I don't know that there's not a right to set up. States don't have rights, so there's no right, to my mind, to set up a religious theocracy that's going to deny rights and attack you.
Why does Israel have the right to set up a religious theocracy that can deny rights and attack Palestinians? Why is it that you cite the existence of Hamas as evidence of their religious intolerance, but not the fact that overwhelming majorities of Israelis think that the approach in Gaza over the last 7 months, which has resulted in the deaths of over 35,000 Gazans, 75% of whom are women and children, is not evidence of the inherent violence of that population?
Yeah, I don't think it's evidence of inherent violence. Wars are violent, and Israel is waging war against Hamas, and Hamas could end this violence at any moment by having its top leadership surrender. Why did you make that same argument about Hamas? See, here's the problem.
There's a big difference between defensive violence and offensive violence. That's the difference. If somebody is engaging in violence in self-defense, usually we consider that acceptable, right?
Right.
There's a non-aggression principle, but that principle doesn't extend to protecting yourself violently if you need to. It's so simple.
And she keeps calling Israel like a theocracy.
Oh, I know.
Is not true. There's no ruling priest class that makes legislation in Israel. That's a democratic country. People vote for the elected representatives. And actually, someone challenged her on this on Twitter. See if I can bring it up.
Go ahead.
What do you say?
Well, her argument would just be so much better if it was in the context of, yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but they've gone too far. People would understand that. People would definitely understand that.
Right.
But she makes it sound like all violence is exactly the same, which is just ludicrous.
It is ludicrous.
Yeah.
So somebody asked her, in reference to this clip directly, can you name the priests and rabbis running Israel, thereby making it a theocracy? To which she replied, I agree, ethno-state is a more accurate term.
Yeah, I know. She backpedaled. She totally backpedaled.
Well, she backpedaled, but then forward-pedaled, saying, yeah, okay, it's not a theocracy, it's an ethno-state.
Yeah,
which,
look, she
again
bounces all around these terms.
Untrue, because you have 20%. First of all, there's not one ethnicity, okay? Number one.
Even among
the Jewish
Judaism,
population,
are
a lot of mixed ethnic groups there. And then there's 20% non-Jews there that have equal rights. So, this whole concept is nonsense. But
what is Palestine?
It's a good question.
If it's not an ethnic theocracy.
Right.
But look, they can do that because they got wronged 75 years ago. So, I can't judge them. If they want to beat their wives, let them beat their wives, right?
The West Bank
They're
is
losing
run.
the war. They should surrender.
The West Bank is run by the Palestinian Authority, a secular Palestinian authority. And as we discussed at length on this show,
I do like how Robbie just says. I mean, he says how it is. They're losing a war. They should just surrender. I mean, yeah. Yes.
Look, the thing is, though, if Hamas comes out and does unconditional surrender, all these people were blowing their wads on October 7th. They're just going to fucking cry for a month.
Mhm.
They're like, no, don't let him surrender.
Well, here's the problem. If you have two scenarios, okay, you have a scenario A where Hamas and all the Palestinian people say, okay, we will unilaterally surrender, and we will surrender ourselves and live under Israel's total rule of the area, right? Say this is like a hypothetical. They say, okay, we will completely surrender. We will just live entirely under your rule completely. We will no longer seek a second state. We will no longer do violence, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
That's scenario A. Then you have scenario B, where Israel says, okay, we surrender the Hamas and the PA. You can control the entire country. We will no longer resist or fight. We just surrender. You control everything, right? So, like, under scenario A, I think the reasonable person can all see, like, okay, there's going to be some instability at first and obviously trust issues. But, as time progresses, there's no reason not to see what that Brianna's mythical, magical one-state solution that's a liberal democracy would actually come into fruition over time in the scenario A, right? Because the problem would just be like, well, if, the Palestinians just keep causing violence. But if they don't, then that's what's going to happen because it's a democracy, right? And that's sort of the natural direction that democracies go. But if scenario B, if Israel surrenders to Hamas and the PA and says, okay, we'll just completely live under Palestinian rule, nobody sees that as ending as some kind of magical, mythical one-state liberal democracy, do they?
Yeah, of course not.
You see those?
Yeah.
You see that it's just going to be violence and people being driven out violently. So
Yeah.
it's just so stupid.
Yeah, the path is the path that she's against. That's
Right.
actually the path to the thing that she claims to want.
Yep.
Israel has gone out of its way to make sure the more moderate secular leadership doesn't arise in
Those
Gaza.
actions are very wrong.
Because they
and
want.
unjust.
Wait a minute, Robbie. I'm just going to finish
Yeah,
this.
okay.
Because they don't want to. They want to be able to use exactly that justification for the immiseration and mass murder.
Play the thing. I'm not the Robbie Suave. What's his last name? Play the thing.
The clip.
He just did the thing. He did the thing. She
Yeah.
totally shut him up.
Yep.
I guess he was interrupting though. So let's see.
The West Bank is run by the Palestinian Authority, a secular Palestinian authority. And as we discussed at length on this show, Israel has gone out of its way to make sure the more moderate secular leadership doesn't arise in
Those
Gaza.
actions are very wrong.
Because they
and
want.
unjust.
Wait a minute,
And
Robbie. I'm just going to finish
Yeah,
this.
okay.
Because they don't want to. They want to be able to use exactly that justification for the immiseration and mass murder that we've been seeing over the last 7 months. There's something that strikes me as very ironic that we're witnessing one country brutalize and kill tens of thousands of innocent people while being told that people who are doing that killing are doing it for truth, justice, and freedom. And the people who are victims of that killing are the ones that are the real barbaric savages. And I use those words pointedly. Savagery, barbarity, these are words that we, as we have covered on this show, are used repeatedly by the New York Times and other major outlets to describe the deaths of Israeli people, but when it happens at the hands of Palestinians, but not the other way around, by like something like a 60-to-1 margin. Words like horrific, despicable, barbarous are used to describe it when an Israeli is killed, but not when Palestinians are killed. And those ratios have gotten worse as the proportion of Palestinians killed as compared to the portions of Israeli has gotten even more exorbitantly different as the months have passed. So I'm simply pointing out that there is a real asymmetry here. And the reason that you're seeing people like Bill Maher, I believe, really double down on this idea that there's something intrinsically wrong about Muslims. There's something intrinsically inappropriate about Arabs. And you get the doublespeak from people like...
It's not intrinsic.
Was that not what he was arguing?
I don't know that that's what he's arguing. No, I don't think that's what he's arguing. He's saying it's nothing intrinsic about their race, but it is an ideology. And if they are going to give power to an Islamic theocracy, their neighbor, Israel, is going to work to prevent that.
A Jewish theocracy. So we should support a Jewish theocracy, is what you're saying. Why is it that the words Islamic theocracy seem to hold this talismanic weight for you as something that's naturally wrong and we should object to?
These are not,
but you don't feel the same way about a Jewish supremacist theocracy.
Again, the level of rights that he went down, there is no comparison.
And I pointed out how wrong he is about so many of those things. Why don't we object to the religious intolerance of Israelis killing Christian Arabs in Gaza? Why don't we react to the religious intolerance of Israelis digging up 16 Palestinian cemeteries? And you push back against the idea that Bill Maher's intolerance. I spent the first part of this radar going through what I think are the most, wait a minute, going against the most, no, he specifically talks about Islam. Would you like me to reread the beginning of this radar? He has said that
Bill Maher made a movie called Religulous. He's a total anti-theist. He hates all religions. And even in that interview, we saw the clip, and he's like, the difference is I can make fun of Christianity and they don't try to kill me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Their cultures, Muslim cultures, are not like ours. He said that they should
Muslim cultures have set up Islamic theocracies throughout the Middle East,
and now
we want to prevent this kind of government from taking.
And now we're in the middle of a huge global conflict, and that's escalating because of a Jewish theocracy that is held out as not just something that is beneficial, but that's something that America should devote $3 billion plus to every year to maintain, because it is a right that this theocracy, this particular ethnic state,
I didn't use the word right.
Well, no, not you
why.
did, but Moynihan did.
And the why is because
Moynihan did use
Israel
the word right.
doesn't want on its border
it has a
another
right
Islamic
to exist.
theocracy.
So this is also the question about South Africa. When we're talking about the end of apartheid, does South Africa have a right to exist? Well, South Africa exists, but it does not exist as an apartheid state anymore. And that is the question. Should Israel have the right? Does any country have the right to exist with a political system that treats some members of its population in a discriminatory fashion?
I don't like to ascribe rights to governments because governments don't have rights, people do. But Hamas has no right to run Gaza and deny the vote to people and have again an authoritarian Islamic society. So there's no right in play here. It's a war. It's war between two governments, one of which we prefer to the other.
5 million people live in the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority. That's not a theocracy. So what rights do they have to self-determination? Why is Israel allowed to occupy their territory?
People have the right to self-determination.
Yeah, the people.
And Israel's actions with respect to the West Bank are wrong.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll continue this conversation, I'm sure. Stick around. More Rising coming up next.
I like that Robbie's just like, he's not like a race thing. He's just saying like, their culture is different. The governments are different. He laid it out very clearly. She's like, shut up.
Yeah, look, I'm always pulling up the democracy index because it's democracy and authoritarian rule. Those are your two options. So it's odd that she doesn't seem to get that. Like, obviously, Gaza is governed as a dictatorship, authoritarian dictatorship, right?
Right.
Israel is a flawed democracy. I just looked it up, 7.8. The U.S. is 7.85. We're not doing so hot ourselves. So, and fucking Denmark is a 9.28. Almost perfect score. Fuck you, Denmark.
Maybe that's why he chose the Danes. Okay, he knew.
Yeah.
He knew. Yeah.
A full democracy. Well, I do think, doesn't Fukuyama, isn't getting to Denmark, isn't that Fukuyama's example of like the perfect liberal democracy? I think he uses is Denmark.
Oh, really?
Fukuyama, he wrote The Origins of Political Order and The Origins of Political Decay. He's a big
liberal.
He's a big pro-liberal, yeah.
Yeah. He's not the end of history guy, is he?
He is the end of history guy. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And he was talking about history ending in liberal democracies, not that we actually have reached the end of history, for heaven's sake. So,
well, obviously, yeah, sure.
But it was assumed at that time that authoritarian dictatorships moved to liberal democracies. The social scientists didn't postulate that they could move the other direction, which is kind of happening now. There were a lot more. Well, the numbers are looking worse for the world as far as democracy goes. We're moving more towards authoritarian governance. We're losing. So, what do you think of this?
I mean, hilarious, insane.
Did you
ridiculous.
Tweet? Did you?
No, I'll send it out as soon as we end the stream, I guess.
Okay.
So, Or I can send it out now.
Be more fun if she blocked you while we were on stream.
That's true. I want to link the video too.
Oh
This
yeah.
video. So.
Oh, you found the video of her? This is Sitch. Look, you should follow Sitch on Twitter. His whole thing is like debunking. People tweet out stuff that's complete nonsense, and Sitch is like, "This is wrong. This is a complete lie. This is bullshit. What are you doing? We can't have any untrue things on Twitter, even though 75% of the shit on Twitter is untrue."
I mean, listen, I try my best, okay?
Oh, look, you're going after you went after SDL. What's going on?
I did?
It looks like it. Oh, no, Connor was going after SDL.
Connor was going after SDL. Yeah.
We got to have him on again. He wanted to come on again, so.
Sure. I was down to talk to Connor.
No, SDL.
Oh.
You're like, yeah.
We can talk to SDL again. I thought he didn't come on.
He was going to come on the.
Like, that was a long time ago because I wanted to talk to him about Dev's video.
But it never happened, but.
Never came with it. Okay. I mean, yeah.
I'll shoot him a DM.
Okay.
All right. Super chats.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Christian Baller for $2 says, Anna is my waifu. What is a waifu?
We read that one.
What is a waifu? A waifu.
You know what a waifu is?
A waifu.
How do you not know what a waifu is?
I know what it is. It's like your anime. It's like your anime crush, right?
Yes, it's like your fictional crush. Yes.
Right.
Right. Okay. We are at
Sulla for $2.
I read that one.
She should leave TYT and host The Hill with Sean. I'd watch that.
I read that one. We are at
Christian
Baller.
Baller
Schultz. We're at Brian Schultz for $2. Says, let's praise Saint Robbie, tamer of DEI Medusa.
Ooh.
I like that.
She transformed from DEI Barbie to DEI Medusa.
Right. Radically Milk Toast for 7 months says, I'm in favor of the soundboard, but every button is a 4-hour cicada sound that Stitch hates so much. A-Team reigns supreme.
Nice.
Hey, fuck you. I'm not doing it. That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Jesus Christ.
That'd be great.
My God. You know, people were mad at me, Adam, today.
For what?
Because I called
impossible.
I called the beloved libertarian retard a liar. What's his name? Rand Paul. Rand Paul?
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that all about?
He lied. He's lying about Biden's executive order, which you can criticize it, but you know, you have to actually be truthful about it. But he lied about it. Flat out lied about it.
Why do people do that shit? Why are people such liars?
Because they're going for like the good, easy optical dunk, I guess. That's like easier way to frame the issue. So
liars.
I know. Okay, let's continue. Libertarian Sasquatch for 10 months says, I mean, you got to give Bree credit. She's always starts a segment with the most disingenuous framing. She always poisons the well right out of the gate. True. Tommy Simonson for $50 DK says, double standards for Jews and Arabs. So the rising saying Palestinians don't really exist. They are just Arabs accidentally based. LOL. Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says, Christian misogyny equals bad, but Muslim misogyny equals good. There you go. It's interesting how that all works out.
Yeah. Oh, they
There's
hate the Christian misogyny.
There's your particularism versus universalism.
Is it really?
I think so.
Oh, yeah. So it should be universal misogyny bad, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Or universal misogyny good, depending upon whether or not you're right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
TL152 for $2 says Brianna Doigray will never take the L. I mean, she always takes the L. Let's be real. Okay. She's obsessed with taking the L.
Mm-hmm.
Become the Knight for 14 months says when she said, quote, studied abroad, she meant she specifically studied a random woman from the Middle East. Oh, I see. See, we thought she meant studied abroad, but it was a space broad.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
I studied a goofy broad one night.
There you go. There you go. Twitter sucks. Thank you so much for $2. It says, quote, I studied abroad, aka Dubai porta potty. There you go.
Oh, wow. Wowzers.
It did the thing. Oh, Cameraman 502 for $5 says to get married in Israel, you go to your religious authorities and each of their rules apply. Example, a Muslim woman is not permitted to marry a non-Muslim man. Interesting.
Oh, so it's a religious leaders that are putting the kibosh on it. Well, can't you just go to the state and say, look, give us one of them civil unions?
Right. I think they do have civil unions. But I mean, I think civil unions concept is bullshit anyway. But they should just do marriage. Suck it up. Don't be bitches. Very Dead Horse for 21 months. Thank you so much. Says Bill Maher's probably talking about, quote, Mufaka Hathat. I don't know what that means, which is something that the Prophet Muhammad practiced on Asia. Not sure the legality of it across the Middle East. I think he was okay. So with the child bride stuff, so there's an UNRWA article from 2017 that claims that 23% of the married population in the Gaza Strip in 2017 was under the age of 18. 23%.
Wow.
So that's, I think, what he was referring to. Ostracy for $5 says, oh man, I thought this was going to be the start of the Sitch, Adam, and Anna show. Look at that. That'd be pretty based, right?
Yeah, sure. Anna's welcome on anytime. But I think she has like a show and stuff.
Right. Solid for $2 says, to be fair, black people weren't citizens in South Africa after 1970. Don't you mean before? What do you mean after? It was before, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Jay for 23 months says there's something about Brianna's saccharine. How do you say that word? Saccharine? That's how you say that word, right? Saccharine delivery that is infuriating. You know, I was thinking the same thing. Like, it's funny, Brianna, when she gets angry, she has two voices. She has like the angry, like screeching voice, and then she has the I'm talking to you like you're a 5-year-old child who's crying about not getting their cereal and it's time for your nap. The voice. Right? She just has like the two moves, and it is very obnoxious.
It's like that crazy bitch from Misery.
Yes.
She's like pulling out the hatchet, getting ready to like mess up your legs.
The sledgehammer, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. She's getting ready to hobble you so you can't escape from her radar. She
also speaks like she's barely holding back a gallon of spit. I hate it. Man. I don't know if I'd say spit, I'd say like venom. Gene Penguin for $5 says, don't they know you're supposed to bribe and blackmail UN officials like a grown-up country? Don't need threats when cash will do. True! Fucking true. That is the American capitalist way. You bribe people with money. Come on. None of these threats
corruption
of
is corruption. Bribes are bad.
Let's do it.
Corruption. No good.
Okay.
Don't do it.
The Empowered Man podcast for $2 says, can we set up a debate on Palestine with you guys? I guess. Who is this? I don't know who this is.
I don't know what the debate would be.
Yeah, what's the debate? What is the debate topic you want to have on Palestine?
The history of Palestine.
I mean, I have literally no interest in debating.
A lot of it's just
we can have a debate, sure.
Well, okay. A lot of times it like people want to devolve into the who started it game, which I mean, I'm very apathetic about the who started.
Let's do it next week. Let's do it next week. Have this guy come on and talk about Palestine. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm done.
I'll make sure everyone has blunts.
Okay. Chronomancer Lex for 129 Mega Man X dollars says, AC agent is using the righteous mind to academic agent is using the righteous mind to explain the laboratory moralities. I'm glad more sides of the political spectrum recognize his research as legitimate. So academic agent, despite being like a weirdo anti-Semitic Jewish question person, he's always been quoting Haidt for a long time. Because I remember he used to be like, oh, I say like weird, racist, anti-Semitic shit like to trigger people's elephants because that gets them to pay attention more. Which I'm like, well, if you actually read Haidt, you know that's the opposite. When you trigger someone's elephant, they pay attention less. You know, whatever. Malik for $5 says a tweet for each virgin. Yeah, that's so wild. That's so wild. Fondue for $2 says 72 new record. Place your 3 initials here. There you go.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a classic.
Is it ironic that if you were to do the 3 initials for Hamas, it'd be Ham?
Ugh. And they don't even, they're not allowed to eat pork.
Exactly. Yeah. Look at that. Burger Dan for $10 says, oh, I figured out Hamas's politics. Hasan's politics. He wants to be a pirate, One Piece fan, Yemeni Pirates fan, bloodthirsty, and he wants to be co-ops, and he wants co-ops profit sharing, i.e. crew decisions and dividing the booty. Oh, I see. You're right. Everything that Hasan wants is to be a pirate. One Piece, Yemeni Pirates, bloodthirsty, and co-op profit sharing. You're correct.
Yeah.
Look at that. Cameraman 502 for $5 says the moderate secular Palestinian Authority that still pays a martyrs fund, including participants of October 7th. Ouch.
Wow.
Is that true? Ooh, that's not good.
That's not moderate.
That's not very moderate. Anonymous Cow for $5 says Brianna has to win this year's Unhinged Lefty Award. I haven't seen this many clippable moments since 2020 Vosh. There you go.
True.
A name in Hebrew, which I cannot read, but thank you for the 15 shekels. Says, got in, heard Brianna for 3 seconds. I can't take it. I'm leaving. Also, Israelis being killed by Hamas was called barbaric because they beheaded kids.
Yeah.
True.
Look, and I mean, show me the context where they'd call collateral damage barbaric. I mean, it just doesn't make, I mean, it's sad, but I don't think we think of it
Well,
as
it'd be barbaric if it was like, well, I mean, obviously,
intentional, it would be
intentionally,
barbaric. Yeah.
That is not the definition of collateral damage by definition, right?
Unintentional collateral damage would be more likely described as sad or unfortunate, things like that.
Yeah, tragic.
There you go.
Even horrible. I mean, that's the thing. You can make an argument and say, okay, I think that, the amount of you can clearly make the argument. You think that Israel's collateral damage is too far,
too much,
or whatever. I mean, you can make those arguments without making these like ridiculous arguments that Brianna's making.
Yeah.
Jacob Lloyd for $5 says, will you guys review the interview the Lotus Eaters did with Liz Truss? I mean, I'll watch it. I don't know who Liz Truss is.
I'll check it out.
So, who's Liz Truss?
I could check it out.
Sella for $5 says it was the end of a process to kick black people out of the white areas and forcibly make the black areas independent. Oh, all right. Gotcha. And Sell for another $5 says only use the soundboard if it's Quack's quote, I'm so horny right now. There's an audio. Wait, I never heard that. There's an audio clip of Quack saying I'm so horny right now. That's pretty good.
I Googled Lotus Eaters did with Liz Truss just because I copied from the super chat. And I see Liz Truss appears on far right talk show to promote her book.
Okay. Yeah, of course. They're all, sure.
Yeah. Losing their minds.
What Liz Truss thinks of hope, not hate. Oh, that's just a clip. Where are we? Death by Sloth for $2 says it's clear from Brianna's rhetoric and her face whenever she says, quote, it should be a one-state solution where Jews and Palestinians live in peace, that her unspoken addendum is or not in peace if the Palestinians so choose. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not willing to go that far in the mind reading, but it is really bizarre when she's making that claim. And then as she makes immediately after that, she says like, and here's all the reasons the Palestinians should be really fucking mad and violent towards the Jews in Israel. And you're like, well, why are you advocating for this solution then? I mean, it sounds like you don't think it's going to work, Brianna. It's real weird. It's a little bit weird. A little bit weird to me, so, Anyways.
All right. That was a great show. Guess we'll see you Sunday.
Yep. See you guys Sunday.
Bye-bye.